They're half used during the day, half used at night, because the counselors have their own rooms. So those who work during the day occupy about half of this area. At night, the other half uses their area. So roughly half of these are used at any given time. So this space really would be cut in half from a per capita use, both for parishioners as well as the counselors. This is a waiting room. This is an exercise room over here. We do have a program. It's a detoxification program. Sauna is used. It's a large area, small number of people. Lastly is the basement, and this is really the area that is really required in order for us to deliver services in this facility. The way it's been learned through experience, and we can't do without it, is that this area will be our sanctuary, and the area around it is, these are seminars that people can take, little seminar rooms, and these are outside seating areas and some small offices, and these are all staff offices on the sides. And this is the basement area which we need to remodel. Without this, it would be very difficult to provide any religious services to our parishioners. We cannot operate on the square footage that would be left over. We'd have to re-engineer everything, we'd have to redesign everything to try to squeeze it all in, and we really can't effectively service our parishioners who have paid dearly to get this building here and to get the designs done and so forth, and the fees associated. So with all due respect, there is a misconception about the amount of space required and the number of people in the building at any one time, which the parking studies clearly indicate, based on head count and cars in the parking lots of other organizations that we have and run, that the number of spaces we have is more than adequate for the demand that would be required. Thank you very much.
I'd like to reserve the remainder of our time for rebuttal.
Any other speakers in favor? You're reserving the time?
Yes, sir.
All right, opposition.
My name is Daniel Hubble. I'm an architect with 18 years of experience and owner of a Sandy Springs architecture firm. I'm also a resident of the courtyards of Glen Ridge, adjacent to the subject property. As an architect, I've used the former Fulton County zoning ordinance and am familiar with the City of Sandy Springs zoning ordinance and its adopted amendments. I oppose the petition to rezone the property 5395 Roswell Road. In my professional opinion, the new church use as programmed is too intensive for this property and does not satisfy the intent of the zoning ordinance. The proposed use is largely an assembly occupancy. There are 24 assembly spaces, including 14 classroom and seminar rooms as labeled in the applicant's zoning impact analysis, all of which represent a significant amount of gross building area. The building code allows assembly spaces with unfixed chairs and tables to have an occupant load of 15 net square feet per person. Thus, a typical classroom, if provided with the correct egress, could legally have significantly more occupants than allotted parking spaces, especially if an assembly parking formula is not applied. This assembly occupant load would be much more intense than the standard maximum occupant load of 100 gross per square foot per person permitted in typical office occupancies. At a minimum, I suggest that there should be limitations on the size and number of classroom and assembly spaces corresponding to times of highest occupancy with an enforcement policy that ensures compliance. Required parking for assembly use should be calculated per zoning ordinance. In addition, the gross square footage is incorrect. By measuring the proposed plans, the total gross square footage of the existing building, including the basement, is at least 44,569 square feet, not the 43,246 square feet as reported. This discrepancy will increase the required parking. Per the zoning ordinance, the definition of gross floor area requires that the total gross floor area of the building be used to determine parking and that every use be served. Further, assigning use required parking to use gross square footage is rational and consistent with other applications of the zoning ordinance and is normal procedure for architects and engineers when applying ordinances nationally. In my professional opinion, the property should remain zoned for its previously intended less intensive use.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jane Kelly. I live at 4590 Windsor Park Place, and I'm with the High Point Civic Association, representing about 500 residents. I'd like to talk to you about parking and setting a dangerous precedent. Parking. We have read the revised staff report and agree with its finding of inadequate parking. However, the parking ratio used is the same as if this were strictly office use. Dan Hubble's professional review found almost as much space allotted to classrooms and other assembly areas as to office space. So if anything, we feel the parking deficiency has been underestimated. The staff report also finds that the proposal does not satisfy two items of the Steinberg Act, D and F, found on pages 11 and 12. Quote, "This lack of parking could cause an excessive or burdensome use of the existing infrastructure," end quote. And quote, "The site at full build-out will not provide the minimum number of parking spaces required for code," end quote. We have also read this Church of Scientology parking evaluation and find serious flaws with it. One, Nashville and Atlanta are not cities of comparable size. A better comparison would show several cities closer in population. Two, the Nashville numbers are based on a location occupied for only 2 months prior to the study. We are not confident that they reflect a more established congregation. Three, the study states, quote, "Based on conversations with Church of Scientology personnel, peak parking demand was determined," end quote, "and site visits performed." This sounds potentially biased. Four, the counts of people and cars were done only 4 times in an entire week, none of which was done during a weekday when administrative offices would be open. In Nashville, one count was done on a Sunday at 11 a.m., 1 hour prior to the applicant's stated service time of noon. We find this is insufficient data and inappropriately sampled. A High Point resident did his own analysis of the data provided in the parking evaluation and came to far different conclusions on projected parking needs for Sandy Springs. This was submitted for your packet, and it shows parking needs ranging from 91 spaces up to 416 spaces if Sandy Springs can achieve Nashville's per capita membership level. Precedent. If Sandy Springs approves the proposed rezoning, granting a significant deficiency in parking, 47 spaces by staff calculation, even more by ours, it sets a dangerous precedent that could be used by future applicants who also do not have enough parking. In the event that this rezoning does get approved, we ask for the following community-requested conditions of zoning to be implemented. Limit the hours of operation to the general public to Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., require applicant to provide traffic flow management for attendance at events exceeding the capacity of the assembly hall, require applicant to provide off-site parking arrangement or busing for events exceeding the capacity of the assembly hall, require applicant to maintain assemblage of demonstrators on their right-of-way property to avoid protesters being allowed to demonstrate in front of residences nearby, prohibit celebrity center signs, prohibit outdoor solicitation, promotion of materials, or testing on the property. Thank you so much.